If you have ever used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or any other AI tool, you've used tokens. The funny thing is that most people use AI every day without having any idea what a token actually is. And that's completely fine until you start paying for AI. Because once you understand how tokens work, you start realizing where your usage comes from and how to get the same results while spending a lot less. So, in this video, I'm going to explain tokens in plain English and show you a few simple ways to reduce your AI costs. No technical jargon, no computer science degree required, just what tokens are and why they matter, and a few practical habits that can save you money if you're using AI regularly. What is a token? The simplest way to think about a token is this: a token is a simple piece of text that an AI processes, not a sentence, not a paragraph, a small chunk of text. Sometimes it is a word, sometimes it is part of a word, sometimes it is a punctuation. When you send a message to an AI, your message gets broken into tokens. When the AI replies, its response is also made up of tokens, and most AI companies charge based on how many tokens are processed. So, the longer the conversation, the more tokens get used. That's really the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Now, let's talk about why people often underestimate how many tokens they are actually using. Number two, where the cost actually comes from. A lot of people assume the expensive part is writing a prompt. Usually it isn't. In many cases, the bigger cost comes from everything surrounding the prompt: the conversation history, the documents you've attached, the instructions you're sending over and over again, and sometimes the AI response itself. For example, asking for a one sentence answer is very different from asking for a 2000 word report. The longer the output, the more tokens are involved. So if you're trying to reduce cost, don't just look at the question you're asking. Look at the entire context that's being sent to the model. And that leads us to the biggest source of wasted tokens. Number three places people waste tokens. The first one is repeating context. Maybe every new conversation starts with the same explanation: I'm building a SaaS company, I'm a content creator, I'm a software engineer. If you're typing the same setup information repeatedly, there may be a better way to store and reuse it. The second mistake is sharing way more information than necessary. If you have a 40-page document, but your question only relates to one section, try providing only the relevant part. Less context often means lower cost and sometimes even better answer. And the third mistake is staying inside the same conversation forever. Long chats accumulate a lot of history. Sometimes it is smarter to start a fresh conversation when you're switching topics entirely. So, how do you actually reduce token usage without sacrificing quality? Number four, practical ways to use fewer tokens. There are a few habits that make a surprisingly big difference. First, be direct. Instead of writing a long formal request, just ask for what you need. Second, choose the right model. Not every task requires the most powerful model available. Simple tasks can often be handled perfectly well by smaller models. Third, ask for the length you want. If you need 5 bullet points, say that. If you need a short answer, ask for one. The AI can't read your mind. And finally, organize your work. Separate tasks into separate conversation when it makes sense. That keeps the context cleaner and often reduces unnecessary token usage. And if you are building products with AI, there are also tools that can help you monitor all of this. Tools that help track token usage. If you're just using AI casually, you probably don't need special tools. But if you're building applications or using AI at scale, visibility becomes important. Some popular options include Landsmith for monitoring prompts, traces, and usage, Helicon for observability and cost tracking, OpenRouter for access multiple models through one interface, Redis-based caching solutions that can reduce repeated requests. The specific tools matter less than the habit. What you want is visibility. Once you can see where tokens are being used, it becomes much easier to optimize. Here's the part I want you to remember. Most people think AI costs are controlled by the prompts they write. In reality, costs are usually driven by context, history, documents, and output length. The goal isn't to use fewer tokens just for the sake of it. The goal is to use tokens intentionally because once you understand where they are going, you can usually get the same results with far less waste. And that is tokens in a nutshell. If you've ever wondered why some people spend a few dollars a month on AI while others spend hundreds, this is one of the biggest reasons. If you found this helpful, subscribe and check out the next video.